And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Maximum Security. This is an expansion for Magic Maze. Now, Magic Maze was a game that when I first played it, I was like, what is this amazing, fun, fast, cooperative game? It is a stressful game for sure, but it is a cooperative game in which players are all trying to get 4 fantasy characters to burgle from a mall and then get out of the mall. Lots of different scenarios. Honestly, when I heard about the expansion, I said, okay, I didn't know that we needed more content, but more content we have. Let's take a look at it. This expansion adds a bunch of modules, and these modules are either going to make the game harder or easier. Now, you're not supposed to play them with, it says tiles 13 through 24, but you can add or subtract these, and they're just going to make the game more difficult. And they give you an order that they recommend that you add them to the game in. So let's take a look at each of these and see how it changes the game. We're not looking at every single module, but we'll look at some of them. Now, the main thing that this adds really is guards. So if you're playing with just a normal one, you're going to replace your regular tile with the new guard tile, number 9 tile. By the way, the tiles have different backs. The game says use that information to your, whatever you want, So I guess if you know certain tiles are in the game, you can manipulate that, whatever. So when the new guard tile shows up, so this is added. So let's say we went through this door here. All right. So when the new guard tile is added up, we add a guard pawn. By the way, there are several of these guard pawns included in the game in case you're playing with multiple guards. So the way a guard works is you can never move a hero to where a guard is. I can never move this hero into this spot on the same tile that the guard is in. So everyone has to move the guard around to a tile where there's nobody so that you can then move on to that tile. And since this guard specifically starts where the purple item is that the magician needs to steal, well, you're going to have to move the guard. So it's a 5th person that you're basically moving. It makes things a little harder for you. That's why it's a negative. Happily, the game comes with stress tokens, or I guess stress tokens is a strong word, because the game calls them anti-stress tokens. You can put these tokens near the board, and you can grab one of these tokens anytime you want. Any player can do it. This one, they can switch roles with another player. That player can't even stop them. Like, you will not move that person where they go. I'll show you how to do it. This one here basically lets you flip the sand timer, and then this one here allows you to talk. Whew. The more, you have multiples of the talking and 2 of the switching. I'm not sure that these actually reduce stress. They can get someone ticked off with somebody else, but it is, overall, they're helpful to the game. There's also other tokens that you have. You have ventilation here. Basically, you can use these. There's 2 pairs. You can stick one where the dwarf is and one somewhere else. And now the dwarf can crawl through ventilation shafts to other spots. Similarly, there is these wall breaches where you can just pick a wall area and the barbarian busts through that. If for some reason you move the guard through, he'll close the wall back up. But other than that, that's 2 ways now to move around the dwarf and the barbarian. But I don't want you to feel that the elf and the wizard are left out. The elf has telekinesis tiles, and with this they can move an entire room to a new legal spot on the board. The mage has spell tokens, and you're going to start the game with 2 of these random spell tokens, and each one is going to allow you to do something like maybe put an invisibility ring around your character. Well, that's the guard. I don't want to make him invisible. And then you can move. There's different things like that. So it's going to change on each game that you play. Of course, there's also bad things. You have the beholder here, who's going to show up on this tile. The beholder basically doesn't sit on a spot on a tile. He's just on the whole tile. He's just like the guard. You can't go to where he is. And the only way to move him is to find this control tile where you move onto these spots, and then you're going to move him whole tiles to escape from him. There's also a room where you can get thrown into jail. There are auto explore rooms. There's rooms where there's a code. So these are all the different new rooms that are included with the game. There's even spots where there's going to be a rotating sensor that you're trying to hide from. So all these are explained in the game. And I should mention, for each of the things, so let's say sensors here, each thing there's like a tutorial. This is kind of a small scenario to help you understand how to use the new thing, the sensor in this case, and then it tells you how to put it into the full game. And then there's a bunch of achievements, which I'm never really one for achievements, but if you find you want more, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. So all the components for this game are going to fit into the original box. As I said, the new tiles are going to look different than my old tiles. Now, my old tiles are pretty beat up, actually, because we've played the game so much. But the new ones are very easy to tell apart, and there's a reason for that, so you know kind of it's a special tile. I like the artwork for the beholder. The game comes with a lot of different tokens that are going to be used. For the most part, any token that you need to grab is nice and big. And I like that. These are tiles, these anti-stress tiles, the telekinesis tiles. They're easy. The guards are pretty much the same as your folks here. I wish they had little police hats, but it is what it is. Overall, it's pretty much the same quality as the original game. The rulebook does a great job at walking you through things and adding a little bit at a time. Well, there you have it. That's Magic Maze, Maximum Security. Now, I don't think this is a necessary expansion. Do I like it? Yes, I do. Do I think it's worth getting? Yes, I do. It adds more modules. But, there's a ton already in the base game. So let's talk about what I like from the new one. I do like the guard. The guard is a simple thing to add. The guard or the beholder. The beholder is much harder to work with than the guard. The guard's just another piece. It's a nuisance. So for me, if I'm playing Magic Maze, I would probably play with the guard and then some of the special abilities from the characters. All four is kind of overkill. That might be too much, too easy. But I would play with those. The anti-stress tokens are fine, but sometimes they're stressful in the fact that someone says, let's use it. And you're like, we don't need to use that. We're fine. Why are you wasting it now? So they're the stressful anti-stress tokens. And some of the stuff like getting people captured. There's one thing where you get people captured and then they go to a cell and you got to use the code to get out. And the dwarf has to use the code to get out. That's a little more complex than I think the game needs. The game is nice and basic. Adding a guard, basic. Adding the beholder, slightly more problematic, but basic. Adding a small special ability, pretty powerful actually abilities, is pretty basic. So I like having these things in the game, and I like the fact that it's pretty seamless to put them in. They did a good job adding this expansion. I kind of went in saying, we don't need this. I'm coming out going, yeah, I don't think we need it, but I'm going to play with this stuff a lot. It definitely adds a ton of replayability to Magic Maze. Magic Maze already had a lot of replayability. I think there's 17 different scenarios. You add in the 16 different combinations here, and there's just tons and tons and tons of replayability. That, plus there's some promo tiles floating around. There's just a lot of content for Magic Maze. So I like the game. This doesn't change my opinion at all. It won't change anyone else's opinion. But if you have Magic Maze and you're like, well, I wouldn't mind more stuff, then you're going to like this a lot, just like me. Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!